Court ruled that the appellate court lacked the authority to make such a declaration as the case dealt with the leadership of the party. The court emphasized that party leadership issues are internal matters beyond the jurisdiction of the judiciary. However, the Labour Party has reacted to the judgment, emphasizing that Abure remains its national chairman. Labour Party National Publicity Secretary Obiora Ifo said the judgment favored Abure because only political parties could determine their leaders. Abroad, Air Force One, United States President Donald Trump has unveiled the first gold card, a residency permit priced at $5 million each, holding a prototype featuring his face and the inscription, "The Trump Card." The president told reporters that the special visa would likely be available within 2 weeks. Trump previously stated that sales of this high-priced alternative to the traditional green card will attract job creators and could help reduce the U.S. national deficit. Emphasizing his commitment to deporting millions of undocumented migrants in his second term, Trump said the new card will serve as a pathway to U.S. citizenship. The United Nations Special Representative of Secretary General Leonardo Simão has voiced concerns over Niger's decision to withdraw from the multinational Joint Task Force, which combats armed Islamist groups in West Africa. Simão, who also leads the United Nations Office for West Africa and the Sahel, told the Security Council that the military coalition's continued operations are vital for regional stability. He noted that participants at the Lake Chad Basin Governors Forum in Maiduguri, Nigeria, had emphasized the need to sustain diplomatic efforts and financial support for the force. Simão highlighted that the multinational Joint Task Force, which combats armed Islamist groups in West Africa, remains the only active security mechanism in the region. In retaliation for imports tariff imposed by the United States of America on Wednesday, China has reacted by imposing additional tariffs of 34% on imports from the United States. The Ministry of Commerce said the new tariff will apply to all U.S. goods starting April 10. This move comes after the U.S. president decided to levy reciprocal tariffs of 34% on Chinese exports, which will now face a total tax burden exceeding 60% when combined with existing tariffs. Meanwhile, the European Commission President Ursula Le Guin said Donald Trump's decision to impose new tariffs on all imports is a major blow to the world economy.
President Trump's announcement of universal tariffs on the whole world, including the European Union, is a major blow to the world economy. I deeply regret this choice. Let's be clear-eyed about the immense consequences. The global economy will massively suffer. Uncertainty will spiral and trigger the rise of further protectionism. The consequences will be dire for millions of people around the globe. Millions of citizens will face higher grocery bills. Medication will cost more, as well as transportation. Inflation will go up, and this is hurting in particular the most vulnerable citizens.
Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney has vowed to retaliate with countermeasures, while Brazil has reacted with an economic reciprocity law to counter the 10% tariff imposed by Trump. Israel on Friday announced that it had killed a Hamas commander in a strike on the Lebanese port city of Sidon. The strike also resulted in the death of his adult son and daughter. Lebanese Prime Minister Nawaf Salam condemned the attack, calling it a blatant violation of Lebanon's sovereignty and a breach of the November 27 ceasefire with Israel. According to the Israeli military, the operation was carried out overnight in coordination with the Domestic Security Agency and targeted Hassan Fahat, identified as the commander of Hamas' Western Arena in Lebanon. The Lebanese Prime Minister is urging the international community to exert maximum pressure on Israel to stop what he described as ongoing attacks, which he said were targeting various districts, including residential areas. Saudi civil defense authorities have urged residents to take precautions as the country's meteorology office predicts continued rainy weather across most regions until Monday. The General Directorate of Civil Defense advised the public to stay in safe areas, avoid flood-prone zones and wadis, and refrain from swimming in them. The Mecca region is expected to experience moderate to heavy rainfall, leading to flash floods, hail showers, and strong winds that could raise dust. Similarly, the Riyadh region is forecast to see heavy rain, flooding, and hail. A weather forecaster earlier this week noted that Saudi Arabia typically experiences its peak rainfall in April, making it the wettest month of the year. After hours of intense debate, India's parliament has passed a controversial bill aimed at altering the governance of properties worth billions of dollars that have been donated by Muslims over centuries. The upper house approved the bill on Friday, following its passage in the lower house the day before, despite strong criticism from opposition groups. Muslim leaders and opposition parties argue that the bill is unconstitutional and violates the rights of India's Muslim minority community. However, the government asserts that the bill's purpose is to increase transparency in the management of Muslim properties. You're listening to World News Now on Montage 99.7 FM Abuja. The rest of the news after this break.
Stay informed. You're still listening to the World News Now on Montage Fairshire.
Now the rest of news. Seen in the previous session, German's DAX index was down by 1.6%. France CAC 40 slipped 1.5%, and the UK's FTSE 100 fell 1.3%. British Petroleum's stock fell by 2% after it announced that Helge Lund would step down as chairman. Sodexo's stock dropped by 4%. Shares of Greshima fell 6% after reports revealed that private equity firm KKR had pulled out of the consortium. Oil prices also retreated on Friday, on track for their worst week in months. The U.S. trade tariffs have raised concern about a global recession that could dampen oil demand. Meanwhile, Brent crude futures dropped by 3.1%, standing at $67.98 a barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude fell 3.2% to $64.80 a barrel. In sports, Kevin De Bruyne has confirmed he will leave Manchester City when his contract expires at the end of the season. De Bruyne, who made this announcement on his social media platform, noted that every story comes to an end and described his time at City as the best chapter in his football career. The 33-year-old midfielder, who joined City from Wolfsburg, has won 16 trophies, including 6 Premier League titles and the 2023 Champions League. De Bruyne has scored 106 goals in 413 appearances for the club, but has started just 19 games this season. It's 4 minutes before 1 p.m. and that is World News Now on Montage 99.7 FM Abuja. But before we go, let's have a quick recap of our stories. United States President Donald Trump has unveiled the first gold card, a residency permit priced at $5 million each. The Supreme Court on Friday removed Julius Abure as the national chairman of the Labour Party. India's parliament passed controversial bill altering governance of Muslim properties. And in business, European stock markets opened lower on Friday, extending the losses seen in the previous season. And in sports, we told you that Kevin De Bruyne has confirmed he will leave Manchester City when his contract expires at the end of the season. On behalf of the news editor, Imisi Adeniran, and the crew, I am Aritz A. Fanga. Thank you for listening and good afternoon.